So, what is the role of the artist, in this case, the
Mm.
musician, in bringing and leading, taking a leadership role in political struggle?
I believe that the artist has a duty to understand themselves, and I believe that our existence has has a direct relationship to politics. And so the artist should be an interpretation, a reflection of themselves, and see themselves as part of a political experience as well, and have their music express that.
Hi, I'm Junius Williams, your host on Everything's Political Podcast. And as you know, in this series, we're talking about the power of music. When we started out, we talked about how music interfaces with us as people. As we go along, we also know that there's political aspects of that interfacing. And if anybody can tell us about that, it's my guest here today.
Oh,
She is Christine Croasdaile, a recent friend,
yes.
a recent member of the Pennsylvania Bar.
Yes, well, thank you for that, Junius.
She's a new lawyer, which means she takes much more interest in the law than I do at this point in my career. Anyway, I should say in my life. So, Christine, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Junius. How are you today?
I'm fine. Let me tell you how we met. Both of us went to Amherst College.
Sure did.
And we were at a reunion of black folks up at Amherst not too long
Wonderful
ago,
time. Back in October.
back in October. And I was on the program and she was on the program.
Mm-hmm.
And she had to run out after she did her thing on the program. So I said, well, she's not
It
even
was
going
a
to listen.
full alumni weekend. There were places
not
to
even going to
be.
listen to what I have to say. She never heard it. She never heard it. But anyway,
But look how the stars align.
the stars aligned, and here you are in all of your intelligent glory. So tell me, how do you figure in what I'm about to say about music?
Well, first I want to tell you thank you so much for this opportunity, Junius. It's so amazing to see this opportunity as a way to fellowship in a way. We did a lot of fellowshipping that weekend. And while I didn't hear your showcase, just to be able to have conversations with you from then till now has been a blessing that now allows for this opportunity to present itself. So I thank you. Just to be able to understand how music brings people together, how music helps to ground people, edify people. Music has truly been that grounding experience for me, even in the midst of, now being this attorney, now even in the midst of pursuing career, and how it aligns with life purpose. It's really all come down to music being a main foundation for me, as I know it is for you.
Where did you get your start musically?
Yeah, it will always be my mother and the church.
Mm.
And I see them as separate but also together. So my mom, Miss Lola Clark, was born and raised in Clarendon, Jamaica. She was raised by her grandmother, and music was the thing that brought her to this country first, even before her education. She actually was a part of the world-renowned University Singers, then was called the Kingston Singers, which is part of the University of West Indies under Noel Dexter. And her soprano voice, along with the other beautiful voices, were able to tour so many different places, including the U.S., also to be record. And that helped to ground her faith in being able to pursue so much. And she instilled that in me too, whether it was singing, piano, but also ensuring that those gifts were used in the church first. And so St. Paul's United Methodist Church of Vanderveer Park was where I was raised. And so I definitely give credit to both my mom and, by way of my mom, my church upbringing for my dedication and my love of music.
What did you do in church?
Okay, so in church, I was on the children's choir. I was on the youth choir. I also played piano. Uh, I actually took piano lessons from the age of 4.5 from this amazing woman, may her soul rest in peace, Miss Gertrude Jackson. And she was originally a part of our church and then also ran her own piano school out of her apartment. And so my god sister and my god brother were actually under her tutelage. And it was then that I was visiting with them for one day. And usually she doesn't take students until they're about 5 or 6. But I was there at the age of 4 and was keen. It was something that attracted me to the keys. And my mom brought me in for what was like a test trial first day. And Miss Jackson said, no, she's ready. And so, yeah, Miss Gertrude Jackson would always have her piano concerts, piano recitals at my church too. So it was just a compounded way of seeing music in my life and being able to be a part of music tradition at my church.
So we now have a clip that we're going to show you.
Oh, gosh.
Of my guest playing the piano. A few years later, she's going to come in and start playing. So you're going to see what I'm talking about. So let's see how good she is.
Seeing that clip reminds me of just what it took to get there, whether it was for me, but also for that space to still be held.
Mm-hmm. That's very interesting because I didn't think of you in terms of music when I met you because you were quite a politico. You were a mover and shaker up there at Amherst. As a matter of fact, you were one of the leaders that made the Amherst College people change the identity of the namesake.
The Amherst College Lord Jeffs, right?
And so we're not going to go into all the details, but that's what I noticed. As we walked around campus that weekend, more and more people started coming up there and giving her deference. I said, what manner of woman is this? And it wasn't just the black folks who were up there. There were all kinds of folks who were there because it was the school annual.
Yeah, it was this annual homecoming. And what was so poignant about that weekend is that they also celebrated, or in the 10-year anniversary of the Amherst Uprising. So it was a state of reckoning and remembrance of what the university went through at the time, but also how they've moved on from it. And I think that music is also a part of that too, right? We had and the Black Campus Ministries was actually created during that time. And we prayed. We had Bible study. We had bi-semester where we had practice. And even in the midst of what was a sit-in that then brought and effectuated a lot of change on that campus, knowing that there was something that had to soothe or heal spaces, oftentimes by myself. And I know you've also spoken about that too, just knowing the pursuit of music in spaces like an Amherst College or just pursuit of music in general. It's so poignant to have conversations like this, and even in the midst of the situations that's going on right now, because music can really be a soundtrack and has been a soundtrack to a lot of movements.
Well, for me, it was off campus because when I was at Amherst, they didn't have very much music.
Right.
I took my saxophone up there expecting to play in a glamorous
in the band, right?
Band, and I remember walking into the football game, and I said, "Bands don't walk.
They surely don't. They march." Right.
And after that experience, I put my saxophone down and didn't pick it up again for a long time until I learned how to play the harmonica, actually. So music, for me, in that political vein, was in the context of the civil rights movement. So my reference was the SNCC Freedom Singers that I heard over at Smith College, which was nearby.
Yep.
So that's when I learned the music of the civil rights movement, and it drew me in. even more so than I was.
And isn't it so beautiful to know that with that 5 college consortium experience, that you're able to also understand how it connects people, right?
Yes.
Connects people to a time of, a time present, and a time forward.
Right.
I too had a 5 college consortium experience of sorts. This book actually I brought with me actually deals with a class that I took called Panther Theory, Reading Black Power.
Okay, hold that up so we can see that.
So this book was actually a part of my course, an elective portion of the course, I should say, where a professor on our campus, Professor John Jabrinsky, led his class as the Black Panthers would, which is like a reading circle, where it's not coming to answer questions, but more so to understand, and to enliven, to really investigate what the Panthers did and why they did it and how they did it. And that reckoning of music for me in the classroom was also important, which is why I ended up taking on party music as part of the elective wiki section. So each student, we had to go ahead and pick a section of the Black Panthers history and write about it.
So we're talking about the Black Panther party music,
Mm-hmm.
not snap your fingers,
do your step
party.
No, not that type of party. Although those parties were definitely happening on campus too.
I understand.
Junius.
Much more so now than when I was there, because it was all boys, and we had to go out into the other land.
Into the Smiths and Mount Holyoke's of the world.
And the Holyokes.
And the Hampshires and UMass.
Well, we didn't have Hampshire then.
Okay.
Hampshire was formed the year after I left.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
My son went to Hampshire.
Nice.
And they were noted for their parties as well. And also UMass. So, no, I didn't have that. We had a different kind of party critique. For that kind of party, I had to go to Boston.
Got you. Which was so crazy is that because I'm from New York, we actually brought the understanding of partying from New York to our campus.
Okay.
So I also had a radio show on campus called The Takeover with Kristen and Christine. That's actually what I spoke about during the showcase, and how living in Charles Drew House, there was a project that we had to complete in order to be a resident. And the project's purpose needed to be bringing Black culture to Amherst. And we could interpret Amherst as the college, the town, or the greater community, Pioneer Valley.
Tell us who Charles Drew is.
So Charles Drew is a preeminent alum of our beloved Amherst College, who then had the audacity to be one of the most poignant leaders when it came to the transfusion of blood. And even what's more...
He was a doctor.
Yeah, he was a doctor. And his upbringing and his fight, his pursuit to become a doctor then led to him truly inventing things that now save millions of people's lives.
Blood plasma. Transferring blood from one person to another. Black man. Charles Drew.
Yeah.
Now, interesting side note, his daughter, Sylvia Drew, was one of those people I often saw at the parties in Boston.
Full circle.
Wow. Sylvia, if you're out there, Sylvia, call me and say hello. So anyway, back to your story.
Yes, so living in Charles Drew Memorial Black Culture House, my friend and I, Kristen Washington, we started The Takeover with Kristen and Christine at WHAM 89.3 FM, Amherst College's radio station. We did our DJ tests during our sophomore fall, and by sophomore spring, we launched on February 14th, 2015, our radio show. And that's how we brought Black culture waves, the notions of Hot 97 and Power 105.1. We brought those waves quite literally to the Amherst radio waves. Through that, we were able to then benefit from the college's relationship with the New England Public Radio. And so not only were people immediately listening to us or our families by way of the online radio station, but we had a wider listenership. And then we also brought on, at the time, well before her career went skyrocketed, Cardi B, as she was hustling and trying to understand what it would take for her to transition into the music scene. And so, once again, music being a way to ground us in a space that sometimes didn't feel like there was space for us on campus. We made space. We carved out space for ourselves through music and playlist curations that ended up serving us well past the Amherst College campus.
So you mean you could call up Cardi B right now and
Nah,
say,
I ain't saying that, Junius. I ain't saying that.
Won't you try?
I could probably email her though and send her and let her know, hey, thank you so much, because that interview with her, also her asking us what do we want to be, I remember saying confidently I wanted to be an entertainment attorney, and being able to state why, and her being able to pour into us and say, well, keep grinding, keep working, you see what I'm doing. So also that sense of connection too amongst drive, right?
So that brings us to one of the concepts that we began examining when we first started this series. Music, I said, brings us hope. Is that true for you?
For sure. I see music as oftentimes that really touches the soul as almost like lyrical prayers. And I've been through many a time where it feels as if, I don't have it. Resorting to a song would be the most poignant. Actually, most recently with Richard Smallwood's passing, right? I turned to Total Praise, Center of My Joy, Trust in You. Black music is just so amazing in that way because it not only tells the stories of our traditions and our past, but it also helps to enliven us in a way that and cement just how we feel about quite literally anything that we have going on in our lives.
Now, you mentioned the Black church experience at Amherst that you guys started.
Well, the amazing Herminia T. Gardner, she helped with some students to start bi-semester, and being able to now keep the bi-semester service in that same tradition is so beautiful. There were times we also have an amazing organist in the community that would come and play for us twice a semester. We would meet every Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. and it would just be a group of us led by one of our fellow students, being able to pray and take time to review songs and take time to also show up for one another. How does faith show up for you when it aligns with music is that, back to the hope understanding, it grounds you, it cements you. And it honestly, on campus, helped me to know who my people were too. So I see music as also being able to locate like minds, right? Even as the like minds we have here.
My mother prayed for me.
Had me on her mind.
Took the time and prayed for me. I'm so glad she prayed. I'm so glad she prayed. She took the time to pray for me.
For sure.
Yes. Now, we're talking about Amherst College. And, everybody, we should probably have some little context here. So you're talking about we're talking about Black folks, but of course, other people could come to these services.
Oh, for sure, too.
Anybody should come.
Of course. I think it's powerful to know that while the spaces were in a Black tradition, all Christian brothers and sisters were allowed to come. And honestly, even those that didn't consider themselves to be non-believers but needed some place to reckon and relieve, right? We can really talk through things. We can communicate through things. We can write emails that express how we may be feeling. But music was able to communicate and that's also beautiful to share in as well. We also would have our faculty members, admin on campus.
And it was music that held it together. That was the combining force, would you say?
It was always the joining together, clapping of hands, rejoicing, and being able to experience the music in the bi-semester space honestly helped to relieve a lot of people's anxieties affairs. I know for me as well.
Well, that's true about the black church wherever we have it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't go to a church that doesn't have good music.
Hello. It
You
just
know,
doesn't
it
sit,
just
quite literally doesn't sit well
my
with my soul.
my pastor from before said music opens the heart and makes ready for the soul to receive the message ultimately from the pastor. And that's so important. That's so important. I can't get to that point without the help of music. I don't even want to go.
I think about children and how the music that we pour into them from very young is so critical for them to be ready to open up their hearts to so many things, to their possibilities, to their opportunities. We're at Amherst College. That's a huge opportunity, or seemingly a huge opportunity for people like us. A song, encouragement can bring you there, right? And can make you feel like you can be there. But part of the reason I was like, okay, I'm here. Taking this class, taking a Bob Marley class, those were things that grounded my Black Studies experience. And so much so that even like my thesis was like almost like a magnus opus to the understanding of movements through music.
Well, let's talk about that.
Okay, so my thesis was about the Cuban Rap Agency. And now the Cuban Rap Agency, for those of you who may not know, was a government agency that was created during the 1990s in Cuba in order to, what was said, to assist the Afro-Cubans that were particularly in the hip-hop scene with promoting their music. Now, the understanding is, though, that at that same time, Cuba was going through a nationalist front where stating that you were Cuban was supposed to be the forefront of your identity. Now, when we think about language, we oftentimes say the African before American, or in this case in English, Afro-Cuban. But in the Spanish language, the adjective of negro should ideally come after the noun cubano. Even in a state of resistance and understanding, Afro-Cubans, and specifically Afro-Cuban rappers, hip-hop artists, were making it clear even in their lyrics that they were negro cubano. And so that level of resistance, even in their language as well as their lyrics, gave rise to even their very government wanting to contain the movement. I then go on to speak about how language and words may not be able to effectively understand things like tokenism. So it stands to reason that music can help you understand things that sometimes the plain language can't.
So now let's stop there because three things came to my mind. Number one, I heard a little lilt in your voice that you speak Spanish, right?
Yes, I do.
And you studied in Cuba.
See.
You took a semester, or how long were you there?
I did. It was the semester actually right after the Amherst uprising. I marched off the campus and over through Havana. It was the spring of 2016. Actually, coincidentally, the same time that Obama made his presidential visit.
Okay.
And being there, I experienced so much culture. From a wide array. I thrived off of listening to their music too. Like we wanted to know what they were listening to. And what's so interesting in Cuba, right? As a communist country, they don't have access to internet like we do. They can't just log into a Spotify or Apple Music or YouTube because their internet is centralized around hotspots. So we would run over to the nearby hotel to log in at 2:00 in the morning to download the newest Rihanna album, but then also being able to go to these almost like hidden spaces to be able to provide USBs to ask if they could download the newest music to us. So people would have their own servers at their house, and we would go there and get the latest episodes of TV episodes, the latest films, movies, award shows. But we were craving also for music while we were there too. No one wanted to miss the latest drops, and so just being able to see how music played a role in my time there as well was so great, which is why then I went back for 3 weeks and did my interviews that contributed to that thesis.
Now, the third observation was probably a lot of people don't even think about it. You talking about Afro-Cubanos. People don't think about Cubans as being African.
No, they do not.
But the African status in Cuba is highly regarded.
Yes, in more ways than one, right? Like, we see it in their religious practices. We see it in their artisanal pottery. We see it even in their medicine practices. They're regarded as creating some of the world's greatest doctors.
Yes.
And it oftentimes goes back to the people who were there, the original people who were there. And also we talk about the relationship between the different islands too, right? They had people come from the other islands, Jamaica, Barbados, Trinidad, came there who identified themselves as Afro.
Because because they came from, their ancestors came from Africa as some as free people, but most of them as enslaved people.
For sure. And being able to find that, right? Seek it. I was a Black Studies and Spanish major at Amherst. And so when I was thinking about where I wanted to go for study abroad, it was not going to be Spain. It was not going to be Mexico. It was not going to be any place that I felt like I could not find those people, right? And so it had to be Cuba. It had to be Cuba because I knew that there was a relationship to Black culture, to Black understanding, to Black upliftment, and that even in a space when I got there, it felt hard to find. My program actually, it's called Spanish Studies Abroad. They, number one, forced us to sign a no English contract. So it forced us to be able to hold each other accountable to only speak in Spanish. And then it also forced us to also go at least once a month on some sort of excursion on our own to be able to seek out things that interest us. They also took us to meet people like Zerbano, who was a proponent of Afro-Cuban thought on the island, which then connected us to so many other artists who acknowledged their Afro-Cuban understanding and be able to see it through the dance, the music, the arts. And so one thing that I thought when I first got there was, oh, this is going to be so hard. I have no access. It was like, no, found access. And once I found it, I didn't let go of it and saw it so ever present in my drive to be able to not replicate my life back at home, but rather see the things that drive and propel me ever present in the space.
It was my second trip to Cuba, I guess it was, and by then I had met a young lady who was a filmmaker in Cuba, Gloria Rolando, very very famous documentarian, and she took me to people like that who had the musical background. And once you enter that world, you see, for example, people who played with Dizzy Gillespie. And Dizzy Gillespie loved Cuba. When he came to Cuba, he would have Cuban musicians playing with them. They influenced his playing, as all of you musicians out there know, but they were also influenced by what he was playing as jazz. So I got to people's home and
Yes.
she was translating because I didn't have the facility with the language that you had, and they were telling me, well, we did this and we were over here. Oh, you got to go see so and so and so and so
Mm-hmm.
because she did that. We went over
Word of
to
mouth.
see them, and it was
Mm-hmm.
just a wonderful cultural experience,
Mm-hmm.
unfettered. For those of you who think it's hard
Yeah.
for that the government doesn't want you to do it, no, you go where you want to go.
Yeah.
Talk to who you want to talk to.
For sure. And it was on my return trip, I was now by myself, and that same thing rang true.
Mm-hmm.
I went there with a list of maybe 7 people that I was interested in interviewing. I wound up doubling it.
Mm.
So what I wound up doing was doing small groups of people as well to maximize the time. And what I found was after having the conversation with one person, they then took me to another person. Same thing.
That's right.
They brought me over here. My professors from La Universidad, they said, "Oh, you need to talk to my cousin. You need to talk to my," because they trusted and
That's
they
right.
understood what it was.
Mm-hmm.
That initially talking about race can be uncomfortable, but when we talk about it in the context of music, it can lighten up. And now for some, it wasn't, right? For some, they were still a little bit apprehensive. But I think that being able to acknowledge things in a way that doesn't dilute, but rather emphasize is very important. So you're seeking out music from outside to understand self, to be able to connect with a place that you may not be able to go to, right?
Especially people of African descent.
Exactly. So I
All
saw
these
that.
instruments we created.
So I see that as just an extension of the resourcefulness too, right? Being able to find that music, being able to connect to that music in a way that then shows the duty and the responsibility of preserving said music and preserving said musical traditions. I think that's so important even for me as an entertainment attorney now. My responsibility to my potential clients is always to defend and protect them and to understand their intellectual property, not only for the state of profitability, but in the state of importance of their pursuit of their craft, and ideally the generational aspect of it too. It can live so on past your time. So even now, I think about, the music that's even created today. Particularly in our country, I feel like a lot of it has gotten more towards profitability as opposed to the, at least in the mainstream point of view, right? A lot of people turn to the idea of like Kendrick Lamar or even the Black Thought music, the Black Thought movement, which is like Talib Kweli and Mos Def, who actually were the ones that, as you were talking about the mentorship in Cuba, the mentorship to the Afro-Cuban artists that I spoke about. But that sense of duty within the music to speak about political ideologies, to speak out about racial and social injustice, to also speak up about the need for resources that the Black Panthers were talking about, the free breakfast programs, right? And so that duty and responsibility, I think, is being enlivened a little bit more now in music, especially when you look for it in the certain places. But I think there definitely still is a responsibility for music to not just speak about the good times and the frivolous times and the things that are lived experiences, but also those lived experiences translate to a political understanding as well.
So what is the role of the artist, in this case the musician, in bringing and leading, taking a leadership role in political struggle?
I believe that the artist has a duty to understand themselves, and I believe that our existence has a direct relationship to politics. And so the artist should be an interpretation and reflection of themselves and see themselves as part of a political experience as well, and have their music express that. A lot of people may think that things become politicized, but I don't think that that's the same thing as things being political. I think politicized is what we see as like, the mainstream understanding of politics, that can sometimes become diluted because of people wanting to air their own issues and kind of deflect from what the global understanding of politics is. I think that the artist has a responsibility to politics in terms of speaking out about things that not only they may be experiencing, but others are experiencing in order for the awareness to then turn to change. So yeah, I believe that the artist has a responsibility to it, because their craft can once again state things that otherwise anything else can't.
You started to talk about party music,
Mm-hmm.
but I think I led you in another direction. So tell me about music, party music, in the context of the Black Panther Party.
Yes. So, the Lumpin, they were a party band. Uh, they were priority, and when I say party, I mean the political party. Uh, they were a group that transformed soul music in a way that, just as you were talking about, Dizzy Gillespie, the forward here is actually written by Boots Riley. Um, they basically were a part of the rank and file of the Black Panther Party members.
And that's the word lumpen means, rank and file,
Right.
ordinary people.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And so they were able to talk about just their struggles through the music, but also how they accomplished things through the music. Their work alongside the Black Panther Party's leaders, right, helped them to truly express the duty of freedom, or they talked about the responsibility to uplift. They talked about the importance of the rhythm of the revolution, and those songs that they created, right, also helped to encourage those who were being impacted by things like COINTELPRO, those who, Edgar Hoover, and just really helped to provide lightheartedness to it too, because it's soul music, but then also a strong voice about it as well. Because
COINTELPRO, you need to, listeners and viewers, you need to do the research on that. I don't have time to educate you. Check it out, COINTELPRO.
So yeah, I was so drawn to understanding that there was music that was part of the Black Panthers, because oftentimes we think about political movements in terms of speeches and the leaders and what's being written to and emailed across. But the music rings true. You can go back and listen to the songs from the Lumpin and be able to identify with them even now in the times that we're living in. Yeah, it was just a great.
We're going to have to let you find those out for folks who are listening to us and watching us, because we've gone a long way here. Just to show you a parallel, also was SNCC, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, and the SNCC Freedom Singers did the same thing. They created songs based on songs, congregational songs that people knew from church, basically, and from the labor movement, created those into freedom songs. And that was a basis that they held people's interest, created interest, like from me, but also served to support people when they were on the front line.
Right.
Because there were some hard times, just like the Panther Party faced. So that's another story. We're going to get into that in another episode. This is Christine Croasdaile.
Yes.
We have found out that she is a lawyer, she's a linguist, she's a musician, she's a world traveler.
And a lover of music.
And a lover of music.
A lover of music.
And my friend.
Yes.
So thank you very much. Everything's Political Podcast is sponsored by the Center for Education and Juvenile Justice and supported by the Terrell Foundation, PSEG Foundation, and the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, and listeners like you. It is produced by me, Junius Williams, and Dreamplay Media. Everything's Political Podcast is recorded in Newark, New Jersey. And our theme music is by Anthony Ant Jackson. Check out earlier episodes and subscribe to us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram. See you next time, and remember, stay political.